Hi everyone, my name is MaCayla Festa and I have multiple sclerosis. It is a very hard word to say, so sometimes it does sound kind of funky. And a short-term abbreviation for it is MS. Okay, so to give you guys a little bit of a backstory, when I was diagnosed, it was June 16th of 2017. I have been doing a lot of research, trying to figure out the best ways to help, not only myself, but maybe others. So to understand a little bit about what MS is that basically, so your immune system is there to get rid of all the things in your body that are not supposed to be there. And for some reason, unknown reason, my immune system thinks that my nerves are not supposed to be in my body. So that's really cool. Not really. I fight a lot of stuff with humor, which you guys will see a lot of times. So basically what's happening is my immune system is constantly attacking my nerves. So what's surrounding your nerves is called the myelin sheath. And when your nerves are attacking that, it breaks down that sheath and kind of creates, I like to call it like a cable, like a exposed cable. So think of your TV that is with a cord that the cable has been kind of bent a couple of times and it's not really sending the right signals. So that's kind of like what my brain is doing to the rest of my body. So I have basically bent cables in my brain and it is not sending the correct information to certain parts of my body. So the certain symptoms that I have right now are foot drop, which means that your foot, it's supposed to be like this, but mine wants to do this all the time. And that's my right side, and everything is pretty much affecting the right side of my body. So that's rough. And then I have a gait dysfunction, and that means that my leg is not really listening to my brain to tell it when to move and what to do. So I do walk with a handy dandy cane, which I'm not super excited that I have it, but it does help. So, I mean, hey, you get what you get. So foot drop, gait dysfunction, I have a lot of cognitive issues. So I will basically be in the middle of telling you something and I will stop and forget what I was just saying. Again, really cool. And then I also have issues with speech. So sometimes my words get a little tongue-tied, which most likely will happen during this video, but I promise I'm not drunk. I have MS. And that's a quote that a lot of MSers use, just because a lot of the symptoms do reflect and seem like you're drunk, but you're not. And sometimes I kind of wish I was, which would be awesome. But sadly, that's not the truth. Okay, so foot drop, gait dysfunction, cognitive issues, speech impairment. I have been noticing lately that my left hand sometimes takes a little bit longer to do certain things. That one's kind of new. I've only had that for maybe 2 months, I think. So that's been interesting because when I first noticed it, I was washing my hands in the bathroom and I went to reach for the soap and it took me a very long time to get to the soap dispenser, and I was like, well, this is weird, not normal. And then it kept happening, and I've noticed that when I go to grab things, or you know, if I'm clapping or you know, anything like that, it like seems like it takes so much more effort from my left hand than it does my right hand. That's the first thing that I've really noticed on the left side of my body. Most of the rest of it is on the right hand side. I did kind of just jump right into this. So when I was diagnosed, it was kind of a roller coaster, to say the least. In 2016, I was diagnosed with vertigo. I was constantly dizzy, losing my balance, didn't really understand what was going on, and I went into the doctor and they had me do this thing where I laid down really fast and turned and looked at them, and I could feel my eyes bouncing inside of my head. It was crazy. So I had vertigo and had vertigo and had vertigo and had, like, it just was never ending. I had it for about like a whole year until I was like, okay, so this is weird. And then I was sitting at work one day and the whole right side of my face completely numb. And for the longest time, I really thought that I had a pinched nerve, because a lot of the side effects I was dealing with kind of worked the same as if you had a pinched nerve. And MS is really hard to diagnose unless they get an MRI, but if you don't have certain symptoms, they don't know to technically, do an MRI. So yeah, so I had vertigo for about a whole year. The right side of my face went numb. A couple weeks before that, I had a little bit of tingling in my lips. I had a friend tell me that his allergies does that to him sometimes. So again, I pegged it for allergies or a pinched nerve, or, it was something that was simple. It was going to take care of itself. I was sure of it. Okay, so fast forward to when my whole side of my face went numb, which was freaky because it itched right here, and I went to scratch it, and I was scratching and scratching, and I couldn't really feel anything. And then I realized that I had been scratching it, but it couldn't register. So then I started touching around the rest of my face, and it was basically all of this up to here, all the way down around here, under my eye, up to my nose, and the right side of my lips. That was interesting because I was sitting at work going, it was very weird. So I called my husband, Jeremy, and told him about it, and he immediately wanted me to go to the doctor. And I said that I'm not going to go because it's just a pinched nerve. We're going to pay a lot of money. I'm not trying to do that for them to tell me exactly what I know what's wrong. I'm not doing it because I'm stubborn. So he goes, okay, well, if that's really how you feel, don't do it today, but if your face is still numb tomorrow, you're going. And those are orders from me. And I was like, okay, you're making a big deal out of this, out of nothing, but okay. And my face was still numb the next day. So I called, made an appointment, and with my primary doctor, and I went in, and immediately she had this look on her face that it was like confusion, but certainty, and sadness, and every emotion that you could really think of. And she asked me a couple questions, had me do a couple of things, and then finally, and thankfully Jeremy was with me when this happened, she sat me down and she's like, okay, so I'm going to tell you what I think is going on. We won't know for sure until we have MRIs and things done and taken care of for you. But I think that what you have is multiple sclerosis. And I was like, okay. I had no idea what it was. I thought she told me I had scoliosis, that my spine was so I was like, well, that sucks. But I mean, I know a lot of people that have it and they live full lives. So I was like, all right, whatever. And then she goes, what I'm going to ask you to do is to not go home and Google it, because it's kind of going to freak you out. And I was like, yeah, I won't. Of course I did. And I found all of this stuff about it, and I freaked myself out. And I was like, oh my God, this is the end. What's going to happen? I have no idea. Which sometimes I still have those thoughts, but I mean, I'm going to get through it, so it's going to be fine. So I went in and had an MRI done, and they looked at my brain, and I had, I believe it was 6 lesions on my brain, and that was where my immune system attacked the nerves in my brain because it thought that it was not supposed to be there. So what it had done was the immune system had attacked them so much that it broke down what is called that myelin sheath around the nerve itself and broke down and exposed the nerve. So like I was saying earlier with the cables, is that just think of the cable and the coverage around it, and think of the inside of it as your nerve, and then that coverage that's around it is the myelin sheath. So the immune system that's attacking it is breaking it down and exposing that wire. So I have live wires all in my brain, which is kind of freaky. So the right messages aren't being sent to certain areas of my body, which, whatever. Yeah, so I went and saw a neurologist, and he confirmed that yes, it was MS, and then started pumping me with all of this information, all of the medication I could take, all of like the dietary changes, all of the physical therapy, like, and the whole time I was there, none of it really processed, I guess, because I had it going through my head that like, wow, this is actually a thing, it's real, it's happening, and can't do anything about it. And if anybody knows me, I am a control freak, and if I can't control certain situations, I turn into a clean freak, and I clean everything very thoroughly. The only issue is that one main side effect of MS is fatigue. So I can't really clean too much, which really sucks, and I hate it, because with cleaning, I know that because I'm doing something, that it can change. So when I get to something, it's dirty, and by the time I'm done cleaning it, it's clean, and my job is done. But with MS, can't really do anything about it. So that's kind of cool. So, gosh, what did I want to say next? See, cognitive issues, which is cool. So I got the diagnosis and went home and sulked. Didn't know what I was going to do, what the people around me were going to do, and the biggest problem I had was telling people. And I still have issues with that to this day, because people can't help it, but they give you the puppy eyes. And they're like, oh, honey. And that's it. And I don't really want that all the time. Yeah, I'm in a crappy situation, but I'm making the best out of it, so I don't want people to pity me or baby me or for certain situations. And if I want to be babied, I will let you know, because sometimes I do enjoy it. I do. Which I think everybody does, so that's cool. Let's see. Just trying to give you guys the biggest part of my backstory. Oh, another reason why I thought it was pinched nerve is that after long lengths of walking, my leg would buckle. So when I would walk, it would go like that. So my knee would pop out the opposite way, and again, thought it was a pinched nerve. And then my face went numb, and I was like, that's for sure what it is. Just kidding, not really. So yes, that's another part of that. And that still happens. It's a lot more excessive now compared to before, but that's okay. That's why I have that cane to help me out. Okay, so, and then MS is a very common thing. It is very, very likely to happen to people that live in the northern areas of the USA, they don't know why or how, so there's no cause and no cure. Basically, they don't know either of them, which, again, super cool, and I'm really glad that, like, I was one of those people that got it. So, I have found that doing my research and knowing more information about MS itself helps me, just to kind of cope and understand, like, okay, this is happening because of this, or that's happening because of that, or, you know, if there's other people that have questions on anything, or, you know, whatever, I am an open book, completely open, and I don't want people to be afraid to ask me questions because they think they're going to cross a line or make me uncomfortable, or, you know, anything like that. I don't care. I'm going to tell you guys everything, and sometimes it's TMI, but hey, it's whatever. So, and I just wanted to let people know that you guys could really ask me, like, anything, because I want to raise as much awareness about MS as possible, because, like I said, when I was diagnosed, I had no idea what it was, and now it's my whole life. It is my life. So that's crazy. And I see, totally forgot what I was going to say next. So I got diagnosed, went to the neurologist, side effects, so I did mention fatigue earlier. Fatigue is something that's very different than being tired, and I will say it, when I tell people I'm tired and they know and they say, oh, I know how you feel, I'm tired too, it's like, do you really? I don't think you do. But it's okay. So fatigue is kind of like you climbed a mountain and got to the top and it had to immediately go down to the bottom. And there were no breaks, nothing. So your body is just physically drained. And so that happens to me from cleaning or going grocery shopping or basically anything, which is, again, very cool. So yeah, it's been interesting and a weird adjustment period of me trying to figure out what I can do, what I can't do, because I would love to say there's nothing I can't do, but unfortunately I've run into a good handful, maybe a couple handfuls of things that I can't do. I think the hardest thing for me has been telling people no, or that I can't do something, or basically like expose my weakness, because I don't like to associate myself with weakness, only because basically I feel like my whole life I've been battling with strength, because there's just been a whole bunch of stuff going on in my life, which I'm not going to dive into that stuff, but so when it comes to showing my weakness, it's something that I'm not fully comfortable with. So yeah, that's been really interesting to kind of get used to, letting people know that, like, hey, yeah, I'm actually, like, too tired to do that, or, like, if I got invited to dinner or something and I call you and I say I can't make it or something like that, don't take it as I don't want to see you. or I don't want to hang out with you, or whatever, is I'm probably very tired. And it's interesting because the tiredness will hit you at very random times. It doesn't really pick the best times. I actually had it happen today. I was on the way to my Grammy's house to drop off flyers for my fundraiser, and right when I was pulling into her park, it immediately washed over me, and I was gonna go inside and sit down and talk to her, and I couldn't. So she had to come out to my car, get the flyers from me, that kind of stuff. So that's kind of hard because I feel like I'm like hurting other people's feelings, even though I know that they don't think that way, but that's how I think because I'm a people pleaser, and when I can't please people, it's really hard. Okay, so I know I'm trying to think of like the best ways to explain certain situations before I dive deep into the stem cell transplant. Gosh, I don't know. So basically, MS sucks. You get it, they don't know why, can't do anything about it. They do have medications that you can take to slow the progression, but it's not promised as to whether it's going to work or not. So for a while, I was taking a medicine called Copaxone. It was a injection that I had to do in my stomach. That sucked. If you had to keep it refrigerated, and if I injected too soon after taking it out of the fridge, it hurt because it was cold liquid going right into my body. So then I started learning, taking it out, letting it sit out for about an hour, kind of that kind of thing. And then I feel like once I started getting a routine down with it, and I did it 3 days a week, I started to have allergic reactions to it. So after I did the injection, the site where I injected, it would get red, irritated, kind of swell a little bit, become itchy, and then I would get really tired. So basically I was useless after I did my injections. So basically people would be like, well, I'm not even going to ask you to hang out. I know it's injection night, so I'm like kind of smart. So it was that, and then I would have to sit with like a heating pad or something on it to help with the pain and the itchiness of it. And then I took it for about 4 months, and about 4 months after I started taking it, I started to have those reactions to where it would act like I recently re-injected, and the area would get swollen and irritated and red all over again. So that was my body rejecting it and trying to push it out. So I stopped taking it because I'm like, well, if my body doesn't want it, it's not helping me any, so why go through the pain and the annoyance of doing a injection 3 days a week? So I haven't been on any medication since April. And that's what the stem cell transplant trial, they were super excited that I have not been on any medications at all. Only because the certain types of medications that are out there are infusions that last for, I think it's like 5 or 6 months. And they have to have a 6-month washout period before they do any sort of transplantation when it comes to stem cells. So they were super excited that I haven't been on anything since April, and that there would be no washout period for anything. And according to the doctor, I needed to start like yesterday. which is fun to hear. So it was a very nerve-wracking situation. When I had first heard about it, my aunt had actually told me about it. She had it was her ex-sister-in-law's friend that actually had the procedure done for her MS, and she has been in remission for the last 4 years. Like, that's crazy. Like, no sign of MS, no symptoms, nothing. So that's super cool, because MS has a very good track record of getting worse and worse and worse over time. So that was super positive to hear about. So I started applying at a lot of different places for stem cell therapy. They have places in like Costa Rica and Moscow and Mexico and like all of those things. And I think I applied to like 9 different places. And thankfully, the hospital in Chicago is who wanted to work with me, which is nice because that's only 4.5 hours away instead of a whole other country. So I'm kind of excited about that. So they had reached out to me and said that they wanted the most recent MRI I had done. So I sent that to them within the same day. And then they emailed me back and they were like, okay, please send over all of the other information. It was basically like my whole life I had to send over to them. Every doctor's note I've ever had, every MRI I've had completed, basically everything about me. And in the email, they said that they would respond and let me know about the information in about 2 weeks. So I kind of hunkered down and got ready to wait my 2 weeks for some sort of answer. And they called me in 2 hours after I sent the email. That was cool, and kind of scary at the same time, because I'm like, they call me that fast when the normal term time is about 2 weeks, so I don't know. So they wanted me to come for an in-person evaluation, and that's so the doctor can see you in person, look at your symptoms, see kind of how you act to certain things, talk to you, just because if they see a piece of paper, yeah, it does say a lot, but seeing the patient in person tells you a lot more. And then it was saying that just because you're coming for this in-person evaluation doesn't mean you're getting into the trial, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay. And I was like, all right, well, yes, I meet every single criteria that they want, which was you have to be young, which I think I am. You have to have the remitting relapsing form, which I do. And then you also had to have it for less than 10 years, which I've only had it for a year and a half. So I was like the golden ticket for what they were looking for. But I still had it in the back of my head that like, maybe they won't accept me, so I don't want to like get my hopes up too high, and I don't want to like get others' hopes up too high or, anything like that. And when we went in, we saw the doctor for 5 minutes, maybe. So, reverse, it was a 2-day trip. The first day, I went and had to have an MRI done at the Northwestern Medicine Hospital, just so their radiology department could review it and get the information for themselves. So we did that, and then the next day I had a meeting with the doctor, and he had the MRIs from the day before in hand, which was kind of cool, because normally around here when I get MRIs it takes like 2 weeks for them to get the imaging and everything taken care of, so it was kind of cool. But when I met with him, he had me do a couple of things. He asked me a few questions, and then asked me to walk without my cane, and I kind of laughed, and I was like, okay. And then he asked me to walk heel to toe. And again, I laughed. And I was like, well, I'll try, but 100% I'm gonna fall over. And he goes, okay, well then we won't have you do that. And I was like, okay, cool. Because my balance is just, I think I'm gonna get like a card or something that says I have MS, because if I ever get pulled over and they have me do that for drunken driving, I'm done. It's not the prettiest thing to watch. But yeah, so yeah, he had me do that, and then he had me get onto the table so he could, you know, feel around for my stomach, listen to my heartbeat, listen to my lungs. I tell people that I kind of felt like cattle. I was just being thrown around in every situation, every different, you know, position, being asked to do certain things and whatever, and I was just like, whoa. And then another fun side effect is that if there's way too much going on, I have what this is called is a sensory overload. So if there's way too much going on, it's really hard for my brain to fully understand all of it, and I kind of turn into like a zombie, because I get very dizzy. I feel like I can feel my eyes bouncing around. So he had me do all of that, and then it was like, okay, let's have you sit back down in the chair. I literally almost fell off of the table, like trying to get off of it to go to the chair. And so that was like, okay. So I sat down, was still super dizzy, overwhelmed, whole bunch of stuff, and he just dived right in. And he goes, okay, so your MS is a lot worse than you think it is. And I was like, oh. And he's like, yeah. So we need to get you going on the stem cell transplant, like, immediately. And I was like, oh. Still, my brain was just, I was not understanding. And I think that he, like, finally caught on, and he, like, stopped and he leaned in and he goes, you're in their program. And I was like, oh. And he's like, yes. Okay, it was nice to meet you. And then he left. And I was like, whoa. And thankfully the nurse was there, and she was like, okay, so I'm going to stay here with you guys for a little bit, and I'm going to explain things a little bit more in depth to you. And I was like, oh, thank goodness, because whoa. And she was like, yeah, it's a lot. And the same day that we were there, there were 29 patients that were there for the same thing. And he only had 5 hours to see every single patient and decide if they were going to be in the trial or not. So when it first started happening, I was really aggravated. I was like, wow, that was super impersonal, not anything that I did, you know. I swear, the guy was like, he's like a celebrity to me, because I watched a ton of videos, read articles, like, I loved that man. And then I met him, and it was nothing like I thought it was going to be. And then I was like, okay, so he had to see 29 people in 5 hours. Kind of understandable that he was as robotic as he was. So I'm positive that when I go back for the actual treatment, it's going to be very personable, and it's going to have a little bit more emotion. So that's good. So yeah, so he left. The nurse sat with us for a little bit, explained everything a little bit more in depth to us, and she was like, okay, well, I feel like you haven't fully digested it yet, and that's going to take a few minutes because that was a lot of information to take in, so I'm just going to continue to tell you about the treatment, how it all goes, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay. Like, I was just completely just glazed over because it was so much information, and I basically a bomb was dropped on me because I'm like, wow, okay. And then she goes, wait, okay, I want to say congratulations. that's amazing that you got into the trial. And that's when it hit me. And then I started crying like a baby. And I was like, okay. She's like, there it is. I knew it hadn't yet. So, and that kind of helped with the comedic, you know. So I was like, all right, you know. So she explained all of that to us, gave me a bunch of paperwork, and then we went home. So, on the way home, it was a 4.5-hour drive, and I basically spent the whole time on the phone, calling family, friends, to let them know that I was in the trial, all of that stuff. The next steps were to get insurance approval, which, again, was super nice of Northwestern because they have a insurance liaison, so I didn't have to do anything, which is super nice because when I started on the Copaxone, I submitted and requested to have that medication December of 2017, and I didn't get approved until, gosh, it took like 2 months. It was crazy. So it was kind of interesting to have them approve something as big as it is so quickly. But I think it's because we had the right people to contact them and basically bug them. So I received the call to say that insurance was, covering all of it. So that's cool. I don't fully know the amount that it costs to do a stem cell transplant. I know that it's very expensive. So I'm very blessed that my husband, Jeremy, has amazing insurance because he works at Ford. So go Union. So yeah, so that was approved, and then once that got approved, we received the personalized calendars, and that's kind of when I kind of understood it a little bit better. I still really don't think that I'll fully digest it until I'm actually there, but we'll see. So I received personalized calendars, homework, like tomorrow I have to go to the dentist and get approval that I don't need any harsh work done because I can't have anything done while I'm going through stem cell treatment or, shortly after that, because basically after the treatment, I'm going to be like a baby. My immune system will be very innocent. So to kind of explain that, the idea behind, well, not the idea, the actual thing, with the stem cell transplant is I will go and they will give me a low dose of chemo. And that is basically to let the stem cells know, hey, you're about to be evicted, so start packing your stuff. That's a nice way of putting it. And then I take antibiotics for about a week, and then we go back, and that's when they start harvesting the stem cells. And so what they do is they will be putting they call it a PICC line, so it'll be like right here. I think that's kind of where they've been pointing. And so that's going to have 3 different lines, so I think one's for blood, one's for chemo, and one's for like fluids, like saline solution or something. Honestly, I don't know. I'll find out when I get there, but I don't know. So they're going to take the blood out through that PICC line, and it blows my mind, but there's some sort of like machine that can filter through the blood and pick out the stem cells and put the blood back in without the stem cells. So they'll take the stem cells out. once they have them all, they will then freeze them and keep them in, you know, freeze mode. It sounded weird. So yeah, they'll do that, and then after they've taken enough stem cells out, they will then administer harsh chemotherapy. I will have that for about 4 days. I will lose my hair. I'm not super excited about that, but there are some really rockin' wigs out there, so I've decided I'm gonna have like a plethora of them, and I'm just gonna be a different person each day. I'm gonna go, you know, pink hair one day, blue hair one day, maybe like an afro. I don't know. Somebody told me I should get like a Marie Antoinette one. Don't know about that one yet, but we'll see. So that's gonna be interesting because I never thought that I would ever see myself bald. I hope that I have a really nice shaped head. I guess we'll all find out together. Yes, back to so harsh chemo's given, and they do that just to make sure that everything is flushed out of my system so that there's nothing bad left behind. And once they make sure that everything is taken care of, then they put the stem cells back into the bloodstream. So what's really cool about it is it's all my own stuff, which is really cool because I was kind of nervous at first. I didn't want to, I didn't know what stem cells were technically, and I didn't know if it would be kind of like an organ donor, you know, to where my body could reject certain things or whatever. So it's kind of cool because it won't reject it because it's for me. So that's interesting. And then they say it takes about a year to fully see all of the progress and updates and everything like that, but there have been a lot of people and a lot of success stories that I've been reading where it's like in a matter of months they're already seeing progress. There have been people that were in wheelchairs that are up and walking now. I actually just shared a fellow MS warrior story on her stem cell transplant. The doctors told her that within 5 years she would be bedridden and she would have to eat and have like a feeding tube and all that stuff, and now she is hiking, riding bikes, spending time with her kids. Her life is completely back to normal. So that's what's going to happen for me. I've decided. I'm not taking anything less. And that's one thing that people are like, okay, so if this works, and if. And I'm like, no, I'm going to stop it there. We're going to say when this works, because it will. And people are like, wow, how do you have such a good attitude? And it's like, you know, I don't have anything to lose. So I feel like it takes more energy to be sad or mad or anything like that. And if you're just happy and positive, I feel like it's not only going to help you, but I think that it does help others around you as well. So I'm just always positive about it, because if you're not positive about things, the sadness will literally eat you alive. It almost did for me, until I started taking I call them my happy pills, and that's helped out tremendously. The crazy thing though is if I miss one day of them, you know, because I am not acting like me, and that's what I didn't like. I could stare at a wall and be perfectly content. The one thing that set me over the edge and fully understand everything was Jeremy asked me one night what I wanted for dinner, and I said I didn't know, and full out bawled my eyes out because I didn't know what I wanted for dinner. And I was like, okay, something is not right. So that's been interesting to take that, but when I first got diagnosed with depression and anxiety and all of those fun things, I was like, okay, well, I'm not taking medication. Like, I can fix this, you know. I couldn't. I have a lot of stuff that I'm constantly thinking about that I can't turn off. And this is what I tell other people as well, is there isn't anything wrong with you if you have depression or anxiety or, you know, any mental illness or anything like that. It's basically, you just have a chemical imbalance. So it's the same as if, you know, if you have an upset stomach, what do? You take Pepto-Bismol. If you have a headache, what do? Take medicine. If you're sad and you don't, you know, not necessarily sad, that was a bad way of putting it. If you're depressed, there is medication that can help. Not saying that it does work for everyone, and not that this is an advocate for depression medication, but I'm just telling you that it does work for me. So don't knock it. Just keep your options open. This is going into something way different than what it was going to be. So back to all the other stuff. Okay, so I think that's really about it, I guess. For now, I want to continue doing videos like this, just because when I started doing research on all this, there wasn't really anything out there that was raw and really explained like everything to me in depth, other than like the medical terms and everything. So if I can be somebody for somebody else that is going through the same things that I'm going through, and if I can make the process a little bit easier, help you understand it, feel like you're, you know, you have support, you have somebody with you, you know, anything like that, I just want to be that person. My main goal with all of this is, of course, at the end of the day, make me better, but to raise awareness about MS, because it's something that is not really discussed too much, when it's a really big thing, and a lot of people have it. So, okay, so I think that's it for my first video. I will say, guys, I was super nervous about doing this. I'm not really a video taking person, so this was interesting to do, but this has been something that I've been telling people that I wanted to do, only because it's something that I needed. So yeah, I will keep you guys updated through my page on Facebook, Stem Cell Transplant for Multiple Sclerosis, hashtag MaCayla's Strong. We are in the process of getting t-shirts. We do have bracelets. We are going to be doing a fundraiser on February 2nd at the Eagles in Ypsilanti. So the fundraiser, we will have dinner. The dinner is going to consist of fried chicken and mashed potatoes and vegetables and salad and cookies, and we're gonna have like a bake sale and baskets for raffling, and it's just gonna be fun. We're gonna have like an open bar and all of that stuff. So I hope that you guys can make it. I will be coming back from basically my first round of treatments the day before. So I really hope to be able to go and be there with you guys. But if not, just know that I'm there in spirit. And I appreciate everybody's support and love. I it's a lot to take and handle, but to know that you have people around you that really support you and are there for you, it really helps. And now that I'm getting emotional, I'm gonna go. Thank you guys for watching, and thank you for staying updated on my journey, and yeah, you're gonna have more videos like this, and I look forward to hearing from all of you, and yeah, hashtag MaCayla's strong. Love you all.